सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। महायोगी स्वामी उमानंद सरस्वती की जय। Yes, we needed to complete a book on Siddha Yoga towards divinity before the end of the year. And of course, it goes simultaneously for English and Marathi. Today I shall take in English and try and see if I can also do in Marathi. So for both the groups we complete the text today. In English to begin with, we are going to deal with some of the questions which are almost from 70 onwards. So we have to complete about 30 questions. So this video might be a little long, but I'm sure I'll try and make it as interesting as possible. So we had asked, once a sadhak attains a siddhatva, becomes Shiva, does he change back to sadhak? Now, normally it is so said, in spiritual texts it is said that once the butter is out of the cream, it doesn't go back in the cream again. It has to be removed and it has to go through a little heat treatment to give you a fragrant ghee. So, something like that. Once you become a siddha, let's say, you start giving, taking responsibilities without, and you consider that work which comes to you itself is a sort of a service, and now it becomes a sadhana. To serve now becomes the sadhana. So first, earlier it was sadhana which was done to serve the Guru, but now it becomes to serve the world, to serve the Guru. That itself now, serving becomes a sadhana. So, so there is, return is not there. It's an onward process, but the process changes. The activity changes. Now the studies end and serving starts. And as you keep on serving, more and more opportunities come your way to serve the ultimate. And it could be through some services, through lectures, through writings, through running some orphanages or whatever it is. You end back into the world, but in the form of a person who serves the world now. And that becomes his sadhana. So he feels that is the way he is going to. Again, we end up with the Jnana Yoga becomes now a Karma Yoga for us. Now it becomes a karma which we need to undertake. Who rides the vehicle? Is it mind or intellect? The rider is only Shiva. We have to understand the difference that just as I had explained earlier, that sun, if sun and ray is taken for an example. Now the sun is a complete entity and a ray is a part which is extended from it. Now the extended part has got similar qualities but with different potential. Something similarly, the main Chaitanya Parameshwar is the main and we individuals are Chitta. Our potential differs from the original, but the contents are the same. But now what happens, what basically changes is the mindset of Chitta, that is you and me. It starts entertaining too many desires. And the desires, because the moment you start contemplating on desires, if they are or dislikes, likes and dislikes both come in that. What happens then is you start wanting them to be fulfilled. If they are not fulfilled, then what comes is anger. If anger comes, then automatically, when anger comes automatically, the next thing that comes is the discerning, like discrete discretion, the power to discriminate. The power to discriminate starts falling short. Because of that, the intellect becomes weak, and because of that, man has a downfall. So now you know where the mind is. Mind is responsible, and intellect also gets affected. So, who rides the vehicle? It cannot be mind and intellect, because mind is a drawback. It has a drawback of desires in it, and intellect is also affected by a mind which is full of desires and dislikes. Therefore, it has to be other than mind and intellect. That is, as I said, the total sun, the total Chaitanya alone, that is Shiva alone, is responsible for the riding of our vehicle, that is the human body. Can we truly develop the vision of seeing Shiva alone all around? Yes, it is so said that if a guru imparts knowledge, if the guru imparts knowledge, then we are able to see Advaita all around. Advaita in the sense, whichever media comes to you, whoever comes to you, you feel it's probably sent by God to you. And he has come to you as God has sent him to help you out in something, or to help you to solve certain issues, or whatever it is. So even chances come, situations come, all are considered to be his sent, God's sent. And therefore, this is the way you will start seeing only God's hand all around. Now, when we get angry, how would we see Shiva around? Obviously, that is one of the weaknesses which pollutes the desires, which pollutes the mind. This is a weakness which pollutes the mind. That is, yes, because if a desire is unfulfilled, then what results is anger. So anger is a weakness. It is a weakness. It is there because you have not had your desires fulfilled. And therefore, if you get angry now, intellect has to yet step in. Then who makes you aware of it, that you are angry? Yes, again, Shiva has to interfere. He makes you aware that you are angry. And of course, you need to stop. But sometimes these forces are so strong, they are so strong that they refuse to let you see that they are wrong is also not realized by us. So anger, when it passes away, you may regret. But at the time when you are angry, it becomes difficult. So that is why we need to stop the mind from entertaining desires. That is the main difference between the Chaitanya and the Chitta. The Chitta is entertaining desires. That is the main difference. And Chaitanya is not desire oriented, it is duty oriented. Satchit, an awareness which is duty bound. It is duty bound, not desire bound. Are Shiva and Shakti different? Yes. We all the world, all human beings, all the animal, living, non-animate, inanimate things, we are all Shakti. We are all Shakti. We are all Kriya Shakti. The humans are Kriya Shakti, and God is the Jnana Shakti, let's say, put it that way. The God is the Jnana Shakti, and the world is the manifestation of will, that is Ichha Shakti. So Jeev is Kriya Shakti, Jagat is Ichha Shakti, and Jagadishwar is Jnana Shakti. So these three are forces, so they are different, but until Jnana does not operate through us, we cannot manifest things in the world, and the world doesn't get manifested. So we three are all bound through with the form of through an action. We get tied. The entire world becomes a part and parcel. It's fabricated by each karma that we do. How do you make Shiva or Shakti appear? Always remain happy because that's a basic quality of Shiva. Be active, that is very important. Try to keep studying, that is the second thing. And third is you have to be happy, because Sachitananda, Ananda, is his very nature. So if you are happy, probably he'll be around you very easily. You'll be able to notice his presence or feel his presence, let's say. Now, what is Maya? Now, correct. Once you separate from Chaitanya and you become Chitta. Just as the ray has come out of sun and has become a ray, now it needs some identification. It is now no more Chaitanya. Now it is something other than Chaitanya, though it is actually Chaitanya, extension of Chaitanya, but now it needs its identification, and that is where it takes a different name. Chit especially takes a different name. Now I will not call myself Chaitanya, I will keep on calling myself, I am Anuradha, I am Radhikananda. So the different the identity, the different circle I belong to. So my identity starts changing, and actually this, which is actually not true. It's not true. Now that identity comes with the temporary existence of Chit. For example, ray does not exist forever. The moment the ray has a short period, it emerges and merges back in the sun. So this emerging and merging back has given it a place and importance, but it is perishable. It's going to go back in the sun. Similarly, we Chitta are also going to return back to Chaitanya. But this, whatever is short-lived, that is Maya, that is a perishable element. Its existence is perishable and therefore changeable. Let's call it changeable more than perishable. It's a changeable principle. It keeps changing. Now, Chitta will change as per the desires you entertain. The intellect will change as per the need you need to apply for it. So, everything is changeable here. The original Chaitanya, original Sun, does not need much changes. We are asked to meditate upon Guru. Must we try to visualize Guru with eyes closed? Try and remember that Guru is the energy which fills in. Of course, we need to associate, just like we meditate on gods. If you want to meditate on Lord Ganesha, you will see his feet, you will try to offer some flowers and all. You can do something similar as far as meditation upon Guru is considered. But we must remember the Guru is actually the knowledge element which needs to be. It's a light, it's an energy. You have got to realize, I mean, for example, just today, this morning, that I had an invitation from Nagpur for a 7 days session I need to give on Shiva Sutra and Ved. So first I was not very sure, for say just about one evening I wanted to rethink of the offer because of this COVID situation, health situation, my age situation. But then in the morning when I got up, my mind was positive and I said, no, I must take this chance so that I get a chance to do a rigorous austerity for a week. Now this positive strength has come because of my Guru. So this is how Guru works in. It gives you a positive strength, a positive force, a thing which will help you to accomplish something. So that force which is given to you, which is a positive force to accomplish something in life, that is Guru. That is Guru. That is Chaitanya. That is Chaitanya. So when you meditate upon Guru, you do meditate with love for the Guru as a person, but you must remember it is far more than the person. It is the positiveness in you that comes with it. That is what really needs to be worshipped. Now we'll go to the next one. Why do we experience a sorrow? Sometimes for short and often long moments. Now, actually seeing sorrow is related. How is it related? Suppose you entertain certain dislikes and likes, then anything that goes against that is going to give you some grief. So these are the subjects in which the five sense organs are indulged. But five sense organs are not they belong to a wrong identity. If I have become Anuradha or Radhikanand or an Indian or a person with different identities, then here are the various sense organs which are going to come, and each sense organ has got a capacity of dual choices. Like the eyes would like to see something or won't like to see something. Ears would like to hear something and some will not like to hear something. So this two-way journey, it is a two-way journey. And sorrow comes to it when you are forced to face or accept things which you don't like. So basically, liking and disliking, the quality of the mind itself needs to be checked. And then the sorrow can be controlled. The sorrow can be controlled. Sorrow is created because, yes, actually it is just a veil over bliss. If you give up the desire, sometimes I will give you another example. For example, suppose you appear for an exam or something interview and you're not selected. You're not selected. I'll give you a very beautiful example. I was working in Karnataka school, and then one fine morning, for 5 years I taught one class, and from 5th they came to 10th. And when they came to 10th class, the principal took the class away from me and gave it to somebody else. So that was a great disappointment for me. And I felt very bad about it, and I decided to, I rushed to my guru. I rushed to my guru because I was very sad at that time. And my guru just said, I've just taken away a field of work, not your ability. And within 12 days, I got a job which was more highly paid and of a different kind. So then I realized, had it been my choice of leaving, it would have been difficult for them. But because now the school had taken a stand which was not approved, I had the choice to leave. I said, no, I don't wish to continue and I wish to go. And then they realized, or they probably wanted me back, but by then I had made up my mind. So I went for another job which paid me more highly, which was my need then. However, so then I realized that sorrow, whatever was there for me for a short time, was a blessing in disguise. So then when we meditate, we experience some movements of kriya within. Yes, it's a mind turbulence, continuous turbulence, and therefore the body reacts to various turbulences of mind and intellect. And when you are in a relaxed meditative position, the body also reflects to it. It is so said that the Kundalini, the energy within, when she rises from one chakra to the other and moves from the spine, the base of the spine to the head of the spine, that is to the Sahasrara. So when she moves, sometimes the body experiences vibrations. For some people, these vibrations turn into tremendous force. Now, I used to myself go around like as if I was the top. They play with this thing. They play with the top. So that I used to feel is what I am. So rigorous my movements used to be. Well, and then we shall go to the next one. I'll just yes. Then we'll go to the next one. The kriya, you should allow them to happen because that is just a way of purifying your system. So we don't need to worry about that. Then you go to, during meditation, thoughts seem to grow more and more and include every person we would hardly think of otherwise. Yes, sometimes you think of people, just consider that your guru's energy or your the grace which is working in you is reaching out to some people. Probably they too need it. Otherwise, sometimes you will think of strangest of the people. So probably the energy reaches out to them through you. So don't fight against it. Go and come back again. Go and come back again. Then you have what is the common aim of every individual. What is the common aim of every individual? So removal of sorrow and acquisition of happiness. Yes, happiness is our main aim. Happiness is our main aim. We need to work towards happiness. And as I said, happiness and sorrow, they are the two sides of the same coin. And that coin is a desire. So if you minimize your desires, you are closer to experiencing more bliss than sorrow. Okay, then you go to the 82nd question. Do mere recitations of mantras such as Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahma, give you the experience? Yes, if you keep on experiencing it. Let's put it the other way around. We are. The Brahma element in you is the the pronoun element in you. Now when I introduce myself, I say, I am Radhikanand. So the I that I am using is the Brahma element, and Radhikanand is the Maya element. It is in the form of a name given to the form which is taken by the Panch Mahabhut. So I, which I am using, is actually the Brahma element. So the Aham Brahmasmi is that me which is there is actually Brahma, is what the mantra is saying. So it is the truth. So you keep on repeating it. But of course, the mantras which we normally take are the mantras which are given to us by our gurus. So Aham Brahmasmi is it's actually the formula. It's the formula, or let's say they are the main principles, they are the main laws. That is what they are trying to tell you, that is the truth. You are Brahma, you are Brahma. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahma. Yes, we are. Because the I itself is Brahma. The I with which you refer yourself as the pronoun element is Brahma. So that is that is one of the big statements of the four Vedas. Aham Brahmasmi is one of them. When Guru initiates us, the body is said to undergo a change. What is this change? Now, just as the electrical engine makes a non-electric gadget electrical, like that, the Guru element gives the Chaitanya element, makes you Chaitanya itself, makes you energetic. Energetic in the sense you will be now, you will be working more in the light of spirit than in the light of matter. You will be working now more in the light of spirit than the light of matter. So it's a very interesting, I think we won't prolong it, we'll take one more day with it. I've almost touched 83, so we won't hurry, I've got just about 15. We'll take another one or two more within the first week of January. We should be able to complete the text. So now we will leave it here. From 84th onwards to 100th question, that is another just about 16 questions, we'll be doing it next time. But meanwhile, do hear this. Today is a very great day. It is my Guru's, Gurudev Umanand Saraswati's 105th anniversary. So this is a humble service at her feet, and we are talking about Siddha Yuga as taught by her. And my Guru's lectures I have translated into English and written myself as Towards Divinity. And this is the book I have, Towards Divinity. And that was my first book. And I'm so glad that I could share this with you all. It's a very beautiful path. Siddha Yoga is a beautiful path. And I've been observing, I've been following it for last 50 years. So I'm Swami Radhikananda from Pune. So we complete our English 19th video, and within 20th one we shall complete the text. So wish you all a very happy new year. We've had a tough time this year, but I'm sure we can look forward for a better graced year. And thank you so much. This is Swami Radhikanand from Pune.